I think it is. More important is probably stronger than I would say. I mean, there are things that we have to rely on scientifically, right?
Right.
I mean, there are things that science guarantees, as fact. One of which that a lot of the diet industry plays on is that calories in versus calories out are what it takes to lose weight. Period. I don't care how you spin it. That's what it takes to lose weight. But that by itself is not sufficient to lose fat,
Right.
right? Because when you're just cutting calories, your body is going to choose, whether or not it's going to lose fat, it's going to lose water, it's going to lose muscle. And when you're just looking at calories, generally speaking, your body will preserve the fat because it is concerned that you may stop, that you're going to stop eating. Um,
That, and you
so
should mention real quick right there that, obviously your body's not going to keep tissue that takes energy to run. So it
right.
actually preferentially burns that muscle for fuel just because it wants survival, the longest
Yep.
survival possible.
Yep. You have adapted over time, and you've evolved to survive. I mean, that's really
Yep.
your role first and foremost is survival, and that's what your body's going to do. If it has to slow down your metabolism, if you have to feel tired, if you have to lose metabolically active muscle in order to have energy to survive later, that's what's going to happen. And so what happens a lot of times is people will say, okay, well, it's just the problem I see is that people will oversimplify that and they'll take that to the extreme. It's just calories in versus calories out. I mean, you had the guy, the professor who did the Twinkie diet. I call it the Twinkie diet, but he ate a lot of junk food, and you know, but he ate below his maintenance calorie level. He lost weight, and he goes, "See, it's just calories in versus calories out." What you don't see is how did his body composition change.
Right.
My guess is probably he ended up with a higher percentage of body fat after his diet than when he started,
Right.
and in the long run that leads to a slower metabolism. So you want that simple foundation, but then you want to add on to that. And for a lot of people, particularly somebody like me who was over 300 pounds, I mean, that's a lot of weight to carry. you know Initially, in order for your self-esteem and to build your confidence, I just need the scale to move,
Right.
right? I need the scale to move in a direction, and I need some way to not plateau. So you might want to start out by focusing on calories. For somebody that's 311 pounds, you don't want to jump into, intermittent fasting, for example.
Right.
Works great. I know from personal experience it works great. But if you're struggling on a weight loss journey, I would not recommend intermittent fasting as your
Right.
magic bullet.
It's
You
not the
know,
foundation.
right? It's not the foundation. Yes, it is going to cut calories, but you're going to spend that 8 hours, that 16 hours, that 24 hours miserable.
Yeah.
And the first chance you get to eat something, you're likely going to binge. You have to work up to those more advanced techniques, and so I believe in the simplest solution for you in your current situation. And the fact of the matter is that Tyler, you have different goals than I do, and so your nutrition strategy, the simplest for you, is going to be different than the simplest strategy for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the fasting thing because like I swear to God that is becoming the most popular thing right now. Intermittent fasting. It's all over the web. Everybody's asking me questions about it, and like you said, it's appropriate for some people and it's detrimental for some people.
Yep.
And I was even having a conversation this weekend with Brad Pilon from Eat Stop Eat, and he said one of the biggest problems they had with that book was they would say stop eating for 24 hours and then do that once or maybe twice a week and then go about eating a regular healthy diet. But he didn't properly describe healthy diet. So he found so many people who would do the intermittent fast and then squeeze their 4,000 calories of junk food into their dinner meal, right? So
Yep.
it was net zero. It didn't make any difference for them. And
Right.
so you're so right. You can't just take an advanced concept and dump it onto someone who doesn't even know like that they should probably choose, some vegetables over some fruit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something simple like that.
Yep.
No, another thing you talked about on your webpage is something interesting. Is people have been talking about this more. Some people, maybe like the Tim Ferriss groups, have been talking about a little bit with regards to nutrition and exercise. But you really explored the Pareto principle when you looked at the entirety of all the exercise programs, nutrition programs out there, and you said, okay, what 20% of all this insane stuff delivers the most results? Can you explain that kind of journey in your mind for some of the people on the call?
Yeah. So, as an economist, I've had the opportunity to study a lot of different folks in the mathematical and economics world. And one thing keeps coming up over and over, and you referred to it as the Pareto principle, but a lot of people might know it as the 80-20 rule, or the law. So we call it the law of the vital few. But what happens in a lot of different aspects of your life, but in particular in nutrition and working out, is that you're going to get 80% of your results from just 20% of the things that you're doing. So, if you're going to do, if you're going to work out, for example, uh, and you're just getting started, maybe you're an intermediate workout person. If you go and you focus on, say, the big five exercises in the gym, you're going to do your squats, your bench presses, things like that, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to get 80% of your results from just focusing on those 20% exercises. Now, you may go over and you may do tricep extensions, or you may do, bicep curls and, calf raises. I don't know, pick something, or, you can go get something more complex like TRX bands, or you want to do balance ball exercises, but, that's not where you're going to get the majority of your results
Right.
from. Same with nutrition. Do I need to go do intermittent fasting, or can I focus on, eating the right foods at the right time to get most of my fat loss? You're going to get 80% of where you want to be just by doing these basic things.
Right.
And, so if you were to go out, the example I use with a lot of people is, just take one day of eating, right? And you go through and you make a list of everything you eat during the day. What you'll find is that 80% of the reason on that piece of paper, 80% of the reason that you might be overweight is coming from 20% of the things you eat. And I go back and I look at my old food journals, and for me, it was coming down to just two things. We always had Reese's peanut butter cups sitting around, and it wasn't because I was hungry. It was because there's a Reese's peanut butter cup there,
It's
and
because it was
God
there.
bless it, it's a piece of heaven sitting there on the counter. Right? So I'm dipping into the Reese's peanut butter cups, or if I got stressed, I was ordering a pizza, and I'm eating this pizza. Most of the time, you hear, and people say it. You've heard it training people. I've heard it with people that I've interacted with. I'm eating healthy most of the time,
Right.
or I know I'm eating healthy, and then you find out that oh, they just put 5,000 calories of salad dressing on this salad, or well, I only had a few Reese's cups. Well, a few could mean 10 or 20, or it could mean two, right? So you got to go back and you look. You say 80% of the reason I'm overweight is coming from these few things. Let me figure out how to eliminate those few things. At the same time, you don't need all of these complicated concepts. You don't need uh, finishers and TRX straps and interval training and long cardio and resistance. You don't need all of it.
Right.
Focus on what you like to do. And when I was losing weight, for me, what I like to do is I like to do interval training. I enjoyed it. It's just something I like to do. But I've met people that don't like to do it, and if I can get them moving, whether or not it's taking a walk every day, or if they like resistance training, we can set up a resistance training program. Or if they want to do finish, we can add all of these things around a core concept of we need to burn some calories. And so you don't overcomplicate things looking for that extra 1% advantage. Focus on getting results, and then when you're ready, when you have plateaued out of that, and theoretically, if you're doing something you enjoy and you're becoming more physically active, that plateau it could be years down the road. Then you're ready to pick up something else. I started with interval training long ago, and that eventually morphed into all of these mud runs that I do. I do a lot of mud runs now, but it all started with interval training, and then it became more advanced. Okay, I'm going to add in some strength training. I'm going to get into these sorts of things. But for years, it was just interval training.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so powerful. I mean, it kind of plays on what we said in the beginning of the call about that consistency and about picking something and like finishing it. Like I urge everybody listening and watching right now to really ask themselves, like, when's the last time I finished, a 60-day program or a 12-week program? I have statistics on a 50-day program that I had people enter, that they had to apply to enter, and we chose the people that could come on the challenge, and still only about 11% of them actually finished a 50-day challenge, 7 weeks, right?
Yep.
And it's so powerful that maybe we need to step back and realize that you're not getting results because the program's broken, or because your metabolism's broken, or because your emotions are broken, but maybe we're just not getting results because you're simply not doing it all the way to the finish line, right?
Yep.